welcome once again. This is Michelle Marchant Johnson, and this is your opportunity to get your questions answered by a panel of wonderful men. A brief introduction for each of them. First, we have Cary Valentine. For over a decade, Cary has been assisting thousands of couples and singles throughout the world to transform their lives out of the emotional pain of relationship and dating challenges to create joyous, juicy, sustaining relationships of their dreams through his In Love Forever personal development system. And there's so much about Cary, but he's also the author of an In Love Forever book called 7 Secrets to a Joyous, Juicy Relationship, which he co-wrote and lived out with his late wife, Wendy. And Cary is joining us from beautiful Hawaii. Welcome, Cary.
Aloha, Michelle. It is wonderful to be here, and I'm so excited to be here tonight and be of assistance. So with a heart fully open to share about love and with these beautiful other men. It's awesome, too.
Thank you so much. We're so happy to have you. We also have another returning guest to the Manathon, and that is Ken Bechtel. For over 20 years, Ken Bechtel, the creator of the Finding Success in Love program, has shared his insights and amusement as a speaker, educator, and relationship mentor to help women get their needs met and be loved for all their unique beauty. He brings you the real story from a man's perspective of what it takes to be adored by a great guy. And he's also the creator and host of the wildly popular Speaking of Partnership podcast that is heard in over 100 countries around the world. And on this podcast, he has leading experts share their personal stories of partnership failure and success. Welcome again, Ken. So happy to have you.
Hey, Michelle. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Good evening, ladies.
Thank you. And of course, we have also our third returning panelist, and it's the wonderful Dave Elliott. When it comes to relationship transformation, Dave Elliott is a noted expert author, international speaker, and accomplished coach who gets results for his clients all over the world. He's especially gifted at teaching smart, amazing women how to bring out the best in men rather than suffering through their worst. Whether he's sharing his expertise in books or products or on some of today's most widely read relationship websites, TV, radio, or stage, you'll come away with new awareness, skills, and strategies to get the breakthrough results you really want. So those are our 3 panelists. And ladies, I'm pretty lucky, right? I get to hang out with these 3 handsome guys for the evening, as do you. And just a couple of other things that I forgot to mention. We have some questions that have been pre-submitted, and we're going to get through as many questions as we can tonight. We'll go about 90 minutes. So let's get underway. And I think we'll start with Ken here to lead off. You okay with that, Ken?
I think I'll have to be.
Okay. All right. So this comes from Judy in Vancouver. She says, what is the best way to deal with fear of being unable to become worthy for love? And she said, i.e. healing from the past, character flaws, childhood wounds, and deficiencies, both giving and receiving. So the question is, what is the best way to deal with the fear of being unable to become worthy for love, both giving and receiving? That's a big question, isn't it?
That's a huge question.
Woo,
there goes the 90 minutes. Thanks, everyone. No, it's a good question. I mean, it's not an uncommon question at all. And the first thing I want you to pay attention to, Judy, and everybody else listening, is the language. It's completely exclusionary. Fear of being unable to become, meaning it will never happen. So there's this belief going on that says, it's not even viable. Why am I bothering? And as long as that's underneath what you're doing won't matter. So the thing I always remind the women I work with is, if you break it down really simply, first is the universe is love. And we're an extension of the universe, which means we're love. So there actually is no separation from love. It's just when we get in our heads and we come up with all these stories, whether somebody gave them to us or we made them up ourselves, or we think this is evidence because, you know, people always break up with me, or I was cheated on, or whatever it is, we start making up stories. But the truth is, at our core, we're love. So all the other pieces are just what we've inserted. And what you want to do is focus on, where do you want to go? Everything in this question is about what you don't want. So you want to feel loved. Great. All throughout your day, you're noticing, is this moving me towards love? Or is this me saying why I can't have love? And you're going to have to shift your awareness, because right now you're attached to, I'm unable to ever become worthy of love. And until you start looking at it from the inside and recognizing you already are love, you don't have to earn anything. You don't have to become worthy. You are love. Then you can start moving in that direction. And it's literally just focusing on your goal. Where are you headed instead of where don't you want to go?
Mm-hmm.
That's my 2 bits.
Thank you so much for that. Our language and our thoughts are so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
So powerful. Dave, I suspect you have something to add to this.
I sure do. I'm glad to be here as well. Can you hear me okay? Am I coming up?
We can hear you.
Okay, great. Yes, great answer, Ken. I think there is a subtext underneath of that of some disempowering language based on past wounds, past things that have happened to Judy, and some challenges that she's had. And Judy, I am really sorry that happened to you. And it is really incumbent on you to do some work to heal those things. A lot of times you can do it in participating in programs like this, maybe getting some help with someone, some of the coaches that you're going to hear from. There are some really, really good ones. I know there will be a lot of people who can help. Listen to these interviews, pay attention to this whole series that we're going to do here. And I think you're going to get a lot of ideas and understandings about how to heal those wounds. Now, the other thing that I could offer you and suggest is I have a little bit of a do-it-yourself kind of tip that I give a lot of my clients. And it was just written up in a Hay House book. One of my clients happened to be the latest Hay House author, which was the #1 publishing company for personal development people. And the author, it's in the book, Conscious Communications. Mary Shores talks about it with what I call the magic of 100. Basically, what I assigned her to do is, okay, if you believe that you're worthy of love, I want you to do a list of 100 amazing traits that you bring to the table for an incredible guy and why you would be an incredible catch. So we started to outline all these great traits that you bring to the table and what you offer. And the beauty of that is once you start to fill that in and you see it on paper and you start to go down and you say, wow, I am radiant. I am playful. I am fun. All of these great things. You really start to look at yourself in a different way. And the reason I call it magic of 100 is there's something magical that happens in that process of really knowing what you bring to the table. So that's a suggestion. And I'm sure Cary's going to have another great one for you too. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dave. And yes, Cary, I know you will also have something to say about this.
Aloha, Michelle. Thank you. And also for Judy, I just want to, before I share, so much I appreciate Dave and Ken, just the way that you are and your answers and your presence. So thank you guys. It's really a treasure for me to be part of this. And the piece that I want to add, you guys had great information for Judy. The piece I'll add is, don't get so afraid, Judy, of the fears, doubts, and insecurities. And here's something to add to the gentlemen that have already shared, as a perspective to recognize that whatever you're afraid of is more your friend, not your enemy. Like, I'm afraid of having the love. What your subconscious self is really trying to help you to get to is the complete opposite of I am ready for the love I'm seeking. And yes, most of us, if not all of us, have had challenges in some way or another in our life about this as we grow up with our parents or just life or relationships in terms of feeling this love. And yet too, like what Ken was saying, the love is there. The love is all there. It's just getting these layers of disbelief out of our way. Also, a piece that Dave was sharing in this. So the piece is turn the doubts inside out and get excited to know that the love is awaiting you. And instead of focusing on what you're thinking you can have, put your focus and emphasis on what you're ready to have and know that it's guaranteed to have it happen. And how does that feel in your heart? Allow the joy, allow the passion to start coming forward. And yet, yes, there is probably some work to be done, but isn't it much easier to go after and do the work we must do to experience this love in our life from the place of knowing you're guaranteed to have it? And I want to just share that piece at this point in time. And I'll be the first to admit, I know exactly what you're talking about. I've been down that road most of my life. And so what I'm sharing, it's been so amazing for me to turn it around myself, because I was haunted by doubts, fears, and insecurity and unworthiness. And then to recognize that all of those things are actually just trying to help build my self-confidence and worthiness. And now I'm a completely different person. And it's just amazing. And I'll share more, I'm sure, as we go on about how that has attracted an incredible relationship into my life too. So.
Thank you so much, Cary.
Yeah, you bet.
Okay, so this next one, this is, when I read this, I want you to pay really close attention, guys, to this language, because there's some nuances in this question. And I think we'll have Dave lead off with this one. For a woman, sex is deeply meaningful and ultra-personal. It suggests progress in a relationship. And she says this, for men, it is the exact opposite. Therefore, there is a high probability for a woman who engages in single sex to get emotionally and physically hurt. What consideration do you give to this dilemma before having sex with your wife / possible wife-to-be? There's a big question, huh? Dave, we can't hear you. I think you're on mute.
Yep, sorry. Yes, that is a huge question. And I think Sherry, right? Yes, thank you for asking that question. First of all, the short answer to your question is the reason I knew I didn't focus on that, I should say. I had done the work. I was a coach for 4 years before I met my wife, and we had both done a lot of work independently. So I guess the premise of your question to suggest that I would enter a relationship pondering the idea that I would cause someone pain is just a bit of a non-starter for me, because I would never do that. It's never going to be willfully or intentionally my purpose to inflict pain. We both showed up in that relationship having done a lot of our own individual healing work. I would say healed and whole in a lot of great ways, but look, let me give you a reality check here. I'll flip to the back of the book for you there. If you're in a relationship with somebody, you are going to occasionally hurt them or be hurt. And, I think sometimes we can maybe believe that we're a little bit too tender. Again, this is presupposing there are other previous hurts, but that's really the process of growth. We learn by pain and pleasure, pain being one of our most powerful tools for learning. So again, I think listen to this program, listen to all the great stuff that's going to be offered. You're going to learn a lot of great things. One of the things I just suggest is don't go into a brand new relationship focusing on the concept of pain and what you might bring or what you might receive, because what you think about, you bring about, and where focus goes, energy flows. So if you focus on, I don't want to be hurt, I don't want to be hurt, all the universe is hearing is, be hurt, be hurt, be hurt. And so that's the exact wrong focus to enter into. So again, there's good stuff here. I'm so glad that you're here. I'm so glad that you're writing in, asking great questions, paying attention. So you're in exactly the right place. Good luck. And I'm sure you're going to get some great material out of this. So thanks. Thanks so much for the question.
Thanks so much, Dave. Okay, Cary, what would you add to this?
I would add that the level of intimacy emotionally is going to create the physical intimacy. I'm about being really candid and wearing the heart on my sleeve. So I have no problems to say what I'm about to say, that I am very much I'm not into having sex. I'm into making love. And that starts, 2 days, 3 days before the actual act or the day of. It's actually happening all the time in a relationship from my perspective. So the piece is from that, it's into me you see. So I'm willing to be honest and be candid and be vulnerable. And like I mentioned, as you mentioned, Michelle, my late wife, Wendy, passed on about 6 years ago, and I was with her for 24 years. So I re-entered the world as an adult in the sense of dating and having to explore these new relationships, which probably a lot of the women are out here listening are in. So I understand like entering into a new relationship as an adult than where I was many, many years ago. And definitely what I've learned from this, and it's been so wonderful and exciting, after each relationship, that I was thinking this would be the, one that would really be the one sustaining, and sometimes it didn't hold over time. I learned something about myself each time until now where I'm in this relationship. It's like it's finally right. But how I got here and how you can get here too, certainly, Sherry, is being willing to be vulnerable and express if there are if areas of sensuality that you're vulnerable about, share that with your partner and see also the level of vulnerability he's willing to be at. That's going to be very telling on the connection and the emotional intimacy you both can create and have. And it's not a matter that you're both in the same place at the same time, but are you willing to go there? And I think that's really important. If you're wanting this flourishing, nurturing, sustaining, loving relationship, not just inside the bedroom, but outside the bedroom, is going to be telling of how open and vulnerable he is and you are, and be willing to be supportive of each other when kind of vulnerability does come up. And it can be scary, to share, well, I've never done this before sexually or sensually, or I have been hurt this way in the past, or I have difficulties, let's say, orgasming. Okay, fine. But that can be all explored and all worked on. And the more open you are, and the more willing and daring you are to be vulnerable, the more you're going to get. The more you're going to bring yourself to a feeling of love that will come over you. That is something you probably will, like new layers, new areas of experiencing the physical love. So I would say with this, don't so much, like the gentleman was saying, don't focus on so much the negative, but focus on what you're wanting and be on with where your limitations or past situations or hurts are, and jump in with 2 feet, certainly. But know what you want. Like, I'm also not saying just have intimacy with someone you don't feel ready to, but that doesn't, and you can meet someone and meet them and know very quickly you want to be intimate with them. Or you can be with someone for a while and just like, we're just not really matching up. I don't feel that deep connection. So trust your heart, trust your intuition, and go for it, and be willing to have open conversations and see how open you are. That's going to be telling right then and there. Because if you're open, then you're going to naturally attract someone who's going to be open too. Or if you meet someone and they're not as open, then you go, oh, I see where we're at, and I want more, and this person may or may not be able to open up to me at that level. So find out, and then so use that. Don't go to a place sexually or sensually that you don't feel comfortable. That's my suggestion. Go to places, and you can take it slow if you need to. And if a guy's really into you, he'll wait. He will wait. He will wait even months if he's really into you to get there. So don't feel pressured of moving too quickly beyond your inner knowing.
Thank you, Cary.
Thanks. Sure.
And I want to give Ken a chance to give his thoughts on this too.
Yeah, thanks, Michelle. Thanks, guys. So Sherry, the thing I'm going to invite you to do is reclaim your power. Because your question is framed around, and I don't know if this was your intent, but that's how it comes off, is what can he do to take care of me? And you asked about what I do. Well, it's probably not really relevant because, like Dave, I mean, I've been doing this work for 20 years. Chances are the men you're dating haven't. So what you really want to do is go, it doesn't matter who I'm involved with. How do I own my power? And one of the ways you can own that is knowing, like you mentioned, this is personal, this is meaningful, this is something that has a high possibility if I'm not paying attention to getting hurt. All right. So there's some of this is just your biology. I don't know if you're familiar with oxytocin. Oxytocin is a hormone that's released when we have intercourse. Estrogen enhances the impact of oxytocin. Testosterone reduces it. So where you are, and it's by the way, oxytocin is known as the bonding hormone. It's what makes you want to stay close to that person. You want to stay engaged with that person after you've had intercourse. For women, it typically that result lasts between 28 and 30 days. For guys, 2. So he has no way of knowing your experience, but you do. So where you can take your power back is know that going in. Do I want this to be that situation? If I think this is a one-night stand, am I okay with that? Because my biology is going to do what my biology does. So I got to be okay to that. So this is taking ownership of that situation. Instead of waiting for him to take you into consideration that he has no visceral experience of, he may have read about it, he may understand it on that level. But even with my experience, and I'm sure the guys as well, we don't have your actual visceral experience. We know what it says in the clinical journals of, this is the result and it causes this response, but I've never experienced it. So it ultimately comes back to you just deciding, okay, wait a minute. If for me, this is a vulnerable situation, this is this place where I could get myself hurt, I could get myself feeling like this was not a good idea, then I have to make that choice. And it's really about you owning that for yourself. And then it won't be about the guys. You'll decide. And as the guys talked about earlier, right? If they're the right guy and you're like, yeah, I'm not good with that, they'll be okay with that. They want you to be your best. If they're not that right guy, you'll find out right away. So again, it's about you making those choices for yourself. That's where you'll reclaim your power.
Yeah. Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see. I think Cary's going to lead off on this one. This one is from Nicole. And she says, I'm a woman in my late 50s, and I've never been married, but I would still like to find someone. First, I wonder if men are dubious of a woman not having ever been married, because I sometimes wonder about men my age who've never been married. And second, how do I get rid of this nagging doubt that I might never find someone? It's hard to keep having hope after so long.
All right, super. Great question to ask me for sure. Again, I feel like I'm the poster boy for doubts, fears, insecurities from the journey and depression I've been through, Michelle. But first, I'll begin with Nicole. It's a journey for all of us. I've been married and widowed, and when that happened, there were times I also wondered, I wanted to get married again, but I was wondering, could I actually find a relationship at the level I was really wanting at? And so what I wanted to share is, yes, you can get married just because you haven't been yet. Numbers are just numbers, and I appreciate, Michelle, you sharing about you were first bride in your 40s, So numbers are just that. But again, it's like, get excited, get passionate of what you want. Allow your heart to be putting in your thoughts all this time of, I'm choosing to get married now. I'm choosing to find a partner now who is going to meet me with all my needs. And we are going to have such deep intimacy and joy and deep connection. So the doubt is like, I might never get married. again, what I'm sharing through the system I talk about, turn your doubts inside out, is that the complete opposite is what is true. So you're saying, I might never get married. That's your doubt. But the truth is, you're desiring to get married, and your subconscious is trying to help you in the opposite way, it appears, than what you want. You just need to translate this to say, instead of, oh, I might never get married, that I'm ready to get married. I'm choosing to get married now. And how does that feel in your body? How does that, allowing that, the joy of that to come in? And so, yes, there is a process to start working. And it's, I also am very practical with these things and work with folks on a system to work those doubts and turn them around. But I'm here to tell you, without a question of a doubt, without there is such, complete knowingness. You will create the relationship you want. And how I know that, if you choose to do the work, is because you revealed to me, this piece of you have this doubt that you might never get married. That's telling you you're primed, you're ready. And yes, you obviously have to do some work, but it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And to then apply yourself. And if knowing that and hearing that, doesn't that give you more impetus to do whatever it takes in yourself to get to your promised land of creating that dream relationship? And I would say first is really you're learning to find more love in yourself. And as you feel more love happening in yourself by clearing out the doubts, you're going to feel it in your heart, and you're going to know that that love is getting closer because you're feeling more in love with life, with yourself. And then that's like you're a beacon of light, like a lighthouse, like you're beaming out there. Hey, everyone, I'm looking for love, and here I'm full of it, and I'm actually wanting to give it out. And so you'll be attracting the quality of the man you're looking for from that essence. And this is all on the nonverbal communication energy field, right? When we meet someone, but it's based on our thoughts, by our heart desires of choosing to find and attract the beautiful man into your life. So I say all for it, Nicole. Age doesn't matter a thing. And, in some ways you're at the perfect age to get married because you have life experiences, and apply yourself and just be like, wow, this is awesome. It'll be my first time. And who knows, you might meet someone who will be their first time too. What awesome thing to join and have a wonderful friendship and relationship together. And I say good luck to you, Nicole, on that.
Thank you, Cary. Yeah, and I just want to encourage you ladies to listen to all of the man panel interviews, because in some of the interviews, a couple of the men actually talk about some of the advantages of being older when you actually meet and attract the right man. 50s, 60s, 70s, beyond. So make sure you listen to that as well. Okay, so Ken, what would you like to add to this?
Well, first, I want to thank Nicole for owning the fact that she thinks poorly of men who haven't been married yet at that age. Because it's true, right? A lot of times people do. They have these expectations. Oh, I wonder what that means. Oh, there must be something wrong. He must be a player. He must be whatever it is, right? And then you go, wait a minute. Do people think that of me? Right? So now it turns around and you're like, oh, wait a minute. Now that's not good. Maybe I'm being considered the same way. Here's the thing. What you believe, you will receive. It's that simple. So if you believe it's going to be hard or it's not going to happen, you're right. Like Cary was talking about, it's like, what are you putting out there in the world? Energetically, with your actions, with who you are, that far supersedes all the other stuff. But if you've got negative thoughts going, it's like having a virus in your computer. You don't see it, but it's back there eating up the ability of your computer to do its thing. It's actually holding your computer back from being effective. Same thing with you. Negative thoughts hold you back from being effective. So just recognize for yourself, Nicole, and for anybody else who's in the same boat, what am I looking for? You're not looking for the guy that seems shady and he has never been married. There's probably guys that indicate that to you, but that's not a universal comment. When we make universal comments, and there were some made in other questions, what that is a protective mechanism. Instead of being discerning and being present with somebody, we're going, I'm just going to put a blanket over everyone and then I'm safe. But it's not fair to you because you just put yourself in a box. Now you just excluded yourself. Okay, the men I'm looking for are in this age range, but if they're single and in this age range and never been married, well, then I'm suspect. But isn't that who you're looking for? Is single guys in your age range and maybe even ones that haven't been married? So you've just negated a big chunk of your potential audience. So just be aware of this for yourself and go, what do I want? And there is no wrong answer. So it's whatever works for you, whatever is your desire, put that out there. It's like placing an order with the universe. Imagine you went to the Universal Diner and you walked in and they said, what would you like? And you said, food. They're like, well, like, can you help me out here? Like dinner, lunch, not just food. Just looking for a guy. We'll just use the guy now. I'm looking for a guy. I want to get married. Not a lot of help there, right? So the waiter goes back in the kitchen and the universal cook is going, well, what do you mean food? What meal? She won't say. Okay, so they have to guess. You're not giving it guidance. And you don't tell them it's got to be, blonde hair, blue-eyed, 6'2", whatever. That's too restrictive. But what are you looking for? What are the qualities you're looking for? That's what you want to focus on. And know that every possibility exists. You've just got to allow that to open up and allow yourself to open up to it. So all your questions are in your head. I don't know. I'm this age. I have never been married. I wonder what this means to people. You're not worried about the people that don't like that. Your focus is on the ones who do. They're like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. I never thought I'd ever find somebody who hadn't been married. There's people looking for you, exactly. Own that, and you'll be able to step into your goals very, very quickly.
Thank you, Ken.
Sure.
And I just think that a lot of this, again, comes back to our thoughts and our feelings are very powerful. And as a woman who married for the first time at age 43, I know that it's possible and have seen many of my clients find love in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. So we have another question here on the panel here that says, is it possible to find a soulmate even at 70? I think love is evergreen. It can come at any stage, at any time in life. So if we're open to receive it and we are not listening to those doubts and fears to the point that they stop us. So I want to do something a little bit different for a minute, panelists, men. I want to do a few, because we have so many questions coming in, I want to do a few rapid fire questions if I can. So instead of us going 1, 2, 3 and letting you all answer the same question, how about we do a few questions kind of more rapid fire, and I'll just ask the questions to one of you. And we'll just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so we can get through more. How does that sound?
Love it.
Okay, Ken, you're going to be up here. So let's see. Natalia asks, I would like to meet new men but have very little time, and online dating is therefore not an option for me. Have you got any suggestions on how to meet new men when I hardly have any free time?
If you really want to meet new men, you'll make time.
I love it.
By the way, online dating is usually what people go to when they don't have time. So if you don't even have time for online dating, dating isn't a priority.
Okay, love it. Okay, so Dave, you're up next. This is from Nicole. She says, why does a man appear all in and then run the other way when things get too close or there are minor issues?
Is that true? Is my question. I don't know if that's true, Nicole. I wonder, you're the other thing that's unique about that situation. If you're seeing this again and again and again, my question is, what might you be doing to influence that? What are you bringing to the table? I don't know. Based on some of these other questions, you're noticing that there is a tendency to focus on things that are wrong, things that are unhealed, things that you need. And those concerns that are part of you sometimes get communicated. So if men love to solve problems, and if he feels like he's not able to solve your problem or doesn't doesn't really get what you're asking for him or isn't able to provide what you're asking of him, he'll probably just bow out, I guess. And that sounds like that's maybe been your experience. So again, it always starts with go back inside. What is it that what are you putting out there? What are you looking for to get back? It's about doing some self-work and understanding that it takes two people to create any kind of dynamic. So I always focus on what is it that you're bringing to the table, because I think you can't necessarily, I've never been successful changing someone else who is more committed to not changing. Where change happens is where you change you and you find that other people magically shift.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Cary. Betsy asks, do men feel a desperation vibe from women who are looking for a relationship? And then she says, is that really a thing?
Not really sure I get it, but desperation vibe. You mean in a sense,
if a woman is feeling like desperate or anxious or approaching a relationship from that standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, from that perspective, I would say if you're feeling that and putting that out, that can definitely be felt, for sure. Because it's also going to be seen in your actions and way that you are. Like you want to meet someone and kind of quickly maybe get married. And that's like you're attached to that idea, that concept, and to achieve that goal versus allow the relationship to naturally get there. And okay, if that's your thing, like you want to get married, again, I would share that with your partner. And again, if that's something that you're feeling nervous or anxious about, I would say be open, be candid. The more you can be real and honest and reveal yourself, even these flaws, the more you're going to find a listening ear. Again, like Dave was saying, men are very caring to solve problems. And that's a great piece. So a guy who's really there caring for you will listen to you and assist you to probably maybe take that challenge there, feeling anxious, to bring it in deeper. And what do you really want? So it's felt. It's felt in many ways. We can be anxious in many situations, not just that. So, and it's wonderful to express them and clear them and be human. We're all growing. Be human. Enjoy the journey.
Yeah, in fact, that leads me to a comment that came in, not so much a question, but a comment. And let me see if I can find it again from Shelley. She says, happiness starts with you, not just with your relationship, not with your job, not with your friends, but with you. All women should embrace this before getting into a relationship, which is a fantastic comment. And it also leads me to say, make sure you catch an interview with Hunt Etheridge on Wednesday, because he talks all about this, and starting with being joyful in your own life to be ready to attract more happiness and a wonderful person into your life. Okay, so let's see. We're back to Ken here. Let's see. What is an appropriate amount of time? This is anonymous. What is an appropriate amount of time to give someone to commit? I dated a man casually for 5 months who said he wasn't thinking long term and needed to get his life together. So I ended it because I wanted more. He said he'd call me once he sorted it out and never did. I now wonder if I pushed too much and if I should have given him more time.
Well, that's an involved question. And I'm sorry, who? Oh, this is anonymous. Well, yeah. Anonymous. There is no such thing as the right amount of time. Who's to say, right? Obviously, in that situation, you were at a time where you wanted to commit. He was not yet. Maybe he didn't even, you said you were dating casually. So maybe he didn't see that you were serious about the relationship. Maybe he took that to mean, oh, we're just dating. There's not really a future here, which works for me because I'm not ready for a future. So there's no way for me to actually answer that particular question. But what I want you to be aware of is this is where you have to check in for yourself. And by the way, this is actually, it's kind of an interesting thing because there's actually a biological aspect to this too. So the fact that you got to 5 months is pretty impressive. because biologically, women are wired to want to know if there's a future to the relationship or not between 2.5 and 3 months. It's automatic. You do it all the time. My friend calls it the State of the Union address. Where are we at? What's going on? What's the future? What do you see here? And the biology of this is that also is the exact amount of time that allows you to know if a baby is viable. So you're wired to know, oh, at this stage, I need to know for myself, do I keep putting into this? Or is this something that isn't going to have a future? So it happens all the time. Everyone I've ever talked to is like, oh my gosh, I do that. It's an automatic response that you're going to want that information. He's not wired that way. So he very likely hadn't even thought about that. You've got a different mechanism you're working with. So just know that. And as we've said earlier in the comments, bring that up to them. Hey, you know what? Whatever it is, 3 months, even if it's 5 months. Hey, I'm kind of wondering where we're at. And if he's like, I'm not there, that's when you have to decide, just like you did. Is there a future or not? You've got to decide for you. It's not waiting to be asked at the time he's ready, because you won't know that. You have to take care of you. That's how you show up and be your best in the relationship.
Thank you, Ken. This is from Karina, and she says, I'm starting dating again. I don't have a problem attracting men, but not the right ones. She attracts men, but not the right ones. Is it just my perception, or do the nicer quality men have a harder time asking a woman out? What do I do?
I'm not sure what we mean by nicer quality men. First of all, Karina, congratulations to you for making an empowered decision for you that you want a relationship in your life. So you're going out there and you're taking some action. You're putting it into place. You're here. You're asking some good questions. So you're taking a lot of excellent action towards getting what you want. As far as, I would really need to know how you define nicer men. So I guess what I'll pivot that back to is get really clear. What are the traits that you're looking for in a man? Earlier, I mentioned doing a list of traits of what you bring to the table, which I think is really important, but also get really clear on what traits you're looking for in a man. And again, if you find yourself attracting men who are other than that, again and again and again, I'm sorry to say, there is something that you might be doing that might be influencing that. Am I blaming you? No. But the thing is, figure out what is it that you're attracting that seems to be a pattern. There is always a gift in every pattern, even when you don't like it at first. So ask the question, what am I seeing that I don't like or that I don't want? And ask the question, do you have a role in that? And I think that's useful. And, or maybe it could be you have just a fundamental misunderstanding, and maybe like what men want or what they're bringing or what they're looking for or what they're after, or does it match your timetable? And does that make them not nice? I'm not sure, but I would ask questions about that to kind of hone in on what exactly it is that's coming up for you again and again. So I'd need a little bit more information for that. And if you get more, Michelle, I'm happy to take another swing at that. So thanks.
Yeah. And one thing, thank you so much, Dave. And one thing that came to mind for me there is that I think it sometimes helps in dating, even if it sounds a little discouraging at first, to approach this from the standpoint that most people are not necessarily going to be your match. So I don't think that it's an abnormal experience for a woman to be feeling like she's not meeting the right guy as fast as she'd like. But all that means to me is she hasn't met the right guy yet. He's out there. She hasn't met the right guy yet. Just adding my 2 bits in there. All right, let's see. Cary. Let's see. How important is it? How important is it to have similarities, same interests, same values, same religious beliefs, same income bracket, etc., to predict longevity? They say opposites attract, but do likes stay together? That makes sense?
Yeah. Is that also from Anonymous?
Mm-hmm.
Sure. There are certain qualities
That's from Nicole. Sorry.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Nicole, for that question. It's a good question. Some of the qualities I think are more important than others, and that's values. And then, in a sense, same income bracket or same religious beliefs. When it comes down to what I have seen and really helpful with many couples that have this kind of situation, in some ways, ideally, and there's more kind of flow and harmony when the two people have similar interests and the way they approach things and communicate. And yet, I've seen very successful couples who come from two different religions and backgrounds, and they don't cross. They live. They're a couple, but they go to their separate, different religious places. But what it is about respect and honor, and really, what is it your value, and to see. And what I kind of come down to and see in these relationships is how much connection, how much love do you really feel for this person, because they may not be, let's say you feel a connection, you feel the love, you feel them very caring and supportive of you, and yet they come from a different religious background, and they're not necessarily going to bend from that. Okay, so what? Really, so what? When it comes down to these things, isn't these religious or spiritual aspects about teaching us about love and compassion and empathy and understanding? And if you're not able to do that, well, okay. There's no rules here in one level. Like if you have to have someone from your same, income bracket or same value system or same religious belief, okay, go for it. And yet it might also block you from having an incredible relationship with someone who's not like you. And so it's like a blend, a recipe. There's going to be things that you're like and things that you don't like. Enjoy it all. And especially snuggle up to the challenges or the differences. That's my suggestion, Nicole. And use that to grow deeper into your own self and in allowing that person. Because let's face it, when you're on your deathbed and you've looked back in your life and the things that really matter to you, does money really matter? Does this person had a different way of their living their life religiously? Or does love, the amount of love and the quality and the care and the support matter? Maybe that is to you, that they have to have the same religion. And then I say, fine. Go for it. Find someone who does come from that place. And yet, in the overall sense, I say it's love. These are the things that nourish our heart and nourish a sustaining and flourishing relationship. And if we have the love, then we'll have the understanding, whether that someone believes in the way we are or doesn't.
Thank you so much, Cary. Okay, we have a lot more questions coming in, so we'll do one more round of rapid fire. This one is from Kimberly, and I think we're back to you, Ken. What does it mean when a man compliments you on your qualities regarding personality and energy rather than physical looks when he first meets you? Do men value a woman's personality more than physical looks when it comes to long-term potential? So there's a couple questions there.
Yes, there are. And I just want to reemphasize something Cary said, and I love what he said. He said, snuggle up to the differences. And I instantly went, isn't that what makes snuggling fun?
Yeah.
I'm just going to leave it at that. You said Kimberly, right? That's who sent this question?
Kimberly.
So Kimberly, yes, is my answer to your question. Women don't realize how much men are paying attention to things other than the physical because you've been told it's all about the physical. I've done countless events where I had men and women asking questions of each other, and every single time women will say, what do we need to do to get the next date? And universally, never matter the age or the income bracket or anything else about the guys that answered, they'd say, I don't know, it's just there's something about you. There's just like a vibe or an energy. Guys don't have the language to talk about non-physical things very well. We don't have that language. So we're like, I don't know. It's like that movie, right? There's something about Mary. The whole movie was all these guys going, I don't know, but there's something about Mary. It wasn't that, oh, it was Cameron Diaz. It was that she was fun and she was adventurous and she did all these cool things, but they didn't have words for it. So yeah, if you're getting compliments on your personality and the energy you're bringing and the vibe you're showing up with, you're hitting a home run. Don't worry about the other stuff. Because otherwise, if that was true, if it wasn't true, the only people who would have partners would be supermodels. Clearly it's not. There's so much more there, because the number one characteristic, they've asked countless surveys of men, what's the number one thing that attracts you to a woman? Number one, and it rocks. It like is always 30, 40 points ahead of anything else. Self-confidence. Number one, blows everything out of the water. It's not she has beautiful hair, she's got a great figure, she's got a rocking body. No, it's that you're confident in who you are and where you are right now in this moment. That's the most attractive thing to men based on countless surveys. So if that's the responses you're getting, it doesn't mean they think. It's funny because this is what's great. The feminine mind will turn a compliment into an insult. Your question was, he said he liked my personality, my energy. He didn't say anything about my looks. Does that mean he doesn't like the way I look? Do you see how I did that? It's very, very common for the feminine mind to do that. So know that that's not what it meant. It meant he liked your personality and your energy. That doesn't mean it at the exclusion of everything else. That just happened to be what he was speaking to at that moment. So know that that's a home run. When a guy is seeing that, he's seeing the real you. He's going, wow, I like how you showed up here today. Because men want to meet the real you. And that's a compliment to you that you showed up so that he could see that. So kudos to you. Well done, Kimberly.
Thank you so much, Ken. Okay, let's see, Dave. This is from Jennifer, or Jen. She shortened it to Jen at the end of her question. How can you know when a man is monogamous? Does a man resent being asked this? Will he offer it up?
That's a great question. So, you have to have that conversation if that's something that's important to you. I think it's a good idea to pace that. Esther Perel, I got a chance to spend some time with her and listen to her speak recently. And she's one of the foremost experts on fidelity, and or more specifically infidelity in relationships. And she makes a great point that at one point in time, fidelity or loyalty in a relationship had a lot more to do about, mutually coming together to ensure the survival. And now it's a very different thing because times have changed in some ways. And her point is that now, even the word monogamous has shifted over time. At one time, monogamous meant I'm intimate with you and only you. Today, monogamous means I'm intimate with only you at one time. And so the word has shifted as times have shifted. So the question is, if you want to know, absolutely ask if it's important to you, state your case, why you want it, why you expect it, and honor that. If that's important for you, put that out there. And look, that's important because here's another way where, a man is basically, as Ken said so beautifully, we're sizing you up, not just physically, but also, are you confident? Do you know who you are? If you say, look, I'm not interested in not being, if I'm not interested in you being with other people, like that tells us that you know your value. And if that's something we really want and we find value in you and we want to continue that, they might offer that up, or they might say, no, not at this time. But then you probably have already found out that they're not really interested in monogamy anyway, or it's not the most important thing. So you've really sized them up and found out what you needed to know anyway. So again, put it out there, know what you want, know your value, and also, again, Ken, your point about vulnerability, knowing who you are, what you want, and that allows us to get to that point of intimacy, as Cary said, into you, into me, I see. That portion of it. So ask away, but you probably want to wait for a good time. Probably not on the first date is what I'm thinking, but by all means, put it out there if that's what you want. Nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, and a follow-up question she asked was, will a man resent this? And I think, what would be your answer to that? I don't think a man resents that if that's what he's also wanting or looking for.
Oh, thank you for reminding me about that part. It's not that you will resent it. I put it this way. The feminine is her number one need is safety, and she navigates by emotion. Masculine doesn't really ever concern himself about safety very often. He mostly feels safe. His number one thing is freedom. A man would pretty much die for freedom. So when you talk about, will he resent you for asking for it? He'll maybe resist it. Will he resent it? I don't know. That's a little much. But the thing is, it's about a timing pattern. So a man will absolutely want to be monogamous if that's what he's into, but it's about a period of time where he needs to see you, over a stretch of time or whatever his beliefs are about that. So again, are you going to have that conversation on the very first night? That's probably not the best time to do it, because one, what it says to him is a man who values his freedom. Basically, he feels like you're trying to get your hooks in him. You're trying to limit his options and take his freedom away. Now, how do you think that's going to go on a very first date? Probably not well, because it's way too soon to do that or put that out. But of course, if you want it, you want it. My suggestion is just gauge it a little better and understand that you can have something great, but you just want to understand what's important to masculine, what's important to feminine. They're very different things. And usually it all works out timing wise when you understand both of them are fair and reasonable. They're just different.
Thank you so much, Dave. Okay, Cary, I want to ask you this question from Melissa, because I know you are in a wonderful new relationship. And for those of you that don't know Cary, he lost his wife of many years to cancer a few years back, and he's in a wonderful new relationship. So Melissa asks, what are some qualities that a man looks for in a potential life partner?
Great question. And it's kind of like, Melissa, we're kind of touching upon in these last other questions. I think for a lot of us as guys, we're visual for sure. It's a strong point. So someone who we feel is attractive to us. The cool thing about that is it doesn't matter what size or shape you are, you're going to find a person who's attractive to you. You don't have to change the way you naturally are. So, this is a quality here that I'll just share out, that goes along with this, that I feel women carry a level of sweetness, no matter what size and shape they are, a little more than men do. And that's something we are yearning for as men, is a level of sweetness in their personality and their character. And that complements us. The other thing is definitely personality, values, how someone is, dealing with challenges that come up. How open are they to communicate, as well as how do they deal with that? Are they calm with, let's say there's, moving through an airport, and you're in an airport situation, you're flying somewhere and there's a sudden change in your plans, that the plane gets delayed and you're planning to be at a certain place at a certain time. You freak out right then and there instantly in front of everybody. And then your partner is trying to communicate with you to figure things out, and you're all over them. That's not a very positive situation. Are you able to remain calm? You might feel nervousness or things like that inside, but externally, can you remain more calm? Are you communicable? Are you willing to communicate? And this is across the board. Are you open? It's like life's an adventure, relationship's an adventure. And it's not the destination that's really the joy. It's the journey. A lot of times you get finally to the destination, and people like to get to the Grand Canyon, go, oh, is that it? On some levels, and at the same point, the Grand Canyon is amazing and majestic. but the journey to get there, enjoy the whole process. So there's many qualities of what is really what guys want and things. There's a balance though, because you can find someone who, like as a guy, I'll speak again for myself, I might meet see someone meet someone who was very physically attractive. And I'm kind of keyed in and like, yeah, I want to talk to this person. And then I start talking to this woman or hear her talking and she's trash mouthed or very negative thinking. And then I instantly go, it loses my interest. So, and I think that's the same for many guys. So there's a balance there, between the personality and the physicalness and the sweetness and the kindness and how supportive she is to the man's dreams and also the man, in this case, supportive to the woman's dreams. And being able to be present with each other and be human, be willing to laugh at our foibles and be willing to also vulnerably but candidly share about the things that we're scared about or our challenges.
So let's see, we're back to you, right, Ken?
Sure, why not?
All right. This is from Katerina, New York City. How do I ask a man in a nice way to stop texting me and call me instead?
Well, this is a great question. So it comes back to what I've been saying before. Focus on what you want. So don't tell him not to text you because he still doesn't know what you want. It can be as simple as, what would make me really happy? I'd love to talk to you on the phone. Done. Or send him your number at that point if he doesn't have it already. Well, he does if you're texting. And just say, when can we talk? And if you want a response from a man on a text, include a question. Texts are not a dialogue. That's not a dynamic conversation. So it's just a Post-it note. You left him a note. Do you respond to every Post-it note somebody puts in front of you? No. So know that it's not a dialogue. It was never designed to be that, and it's not that. But if you ask a question, he's bound to respond. So just make it really simple. What would make me really happy? To get on the phone with you and hear your voice. When's a good time? Done. It's very simple, direct. Guys like direct because then we don't have to read between the lines because we won't. We were never taught how to read between the lines. You were. You have it wired into you. We don't. If you didn't say it, it didn't happen. So just know that. Make it simple, direct. He will appreciate it.
I love it. Yeah, Ken, I know I've heard you say men don't speak hint. And so this is an opportunity to express what you want. I love that focus of asking for what you want and doing it in a nice way and inviting him to communicate in that way. Okay, so let's see, Dave, this is from Annie. I'm 39 and still want to have kids. How do you recommend navigating dating to avoid men who say they want something serious but aren't emotionally available, not on the same page?
So 39, she wants to have kids, but she wants to avoid people that might not want that. Is that what I got from it?
That's how I'm hearing it. Yeah, that's how I'm hearing the question.
Yeah, see, that's another tricky, I get this one all the time. And in fact, if I can recommend, I have a friend of mine who just put out a book that is amazing for women like in this age range who worry about it, about being able to have babies, because it can sometimes be really difficult and we start to focus on feeling that window might be closing, and it doesn't always bring out the best in you to have that type of attitude. And the thing is, you don't want to go and meet on a very first date and say, check the box, yes or no, do you want kids? Because that's a little off-putting too. Remember what I said about a man feeling like you're trying to get your hooks in him, right? There are men out there who absolutely do want what you want, but you want to present it in a much more compelling way, and you want to it really is about managing your belief. There's a great story in this book, and I'll just share it real quickly. If a lot of women tend to worry when that window starts to close, and my friend Bettina did this interview with Dr. Christiane Northrup, incredible expert, OBGYN in Boston, works in a Catholic hospital. And she was asking her, do women 39 and 40, do they have to worry about this thing? And she said, look, in my practice all day long, I see women in their 50s and 60s who are having their 8th baby. And I look at it to say, look, she doesn't think that's an issue. It's really an overall representation of your overall health. So look, there's a lot of hope for you. And I really suggest you go out and get this book, Joy of Later Motherhood, Bettina Gordon. Check it out. It's a great book. And it tells that story. And it's just a powerful story about understanding that the IVF industry is sort of predicated on making you worried and concerned. And your worry and concern about whether it's going to happen to you. Again, what have we been talking about this whole call? What you think about, you bring about. And all you think about is, oh, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Do you think that might get in the way of conception? It absolutely does. And it also, it puts the wrong conversation out there too early. Yes, you should decide quickly. You should know what you want. You should absolutely have confidence and know that you will be attracted. Someone will be attracted to you if you want that too. But you got to put it out there. No apologies, but you want to. You don't want to beat people over the head as soon as you meet them, I guess is not the best way to say it, but I'm trying to get that point across quickly because I know we've got other questions. So I hope that answers it.
Yeah, and I will just say thank you so much, Dave, for sharing and giving that resource as well. But I will say this biological clock thing is a real thing for a lot of women. I know it was for me, and I didn't marry until I was 43, and I haven't had children. I can tell you, though, that I have two very, very close friends that had children late 40s and one even in early 50s. And of course, with maybe some medical assistance, it's amazing what is possible these days. So I just say, I think it's more important to focus on finding the relationship that you would be happy in and exploring that and exploring what man's priorities are along those lines. Because for the long run, there's a lot of different possibilities in this area, even though we can feel that tick of the biological clock. Okay, let's see. Anne asks, and Cary, I think you're up here. Anne asks, can a man know intuitively, very quickly, that a woman is for him? And I think maybe what's being implied here is I think sometimes women feel like we can. I'm taking a guess on that, Anne, but.
Yes, most certainly yes. And I have that feeling in my life, and yet it's interesting because I want to expound upon that idea that has happened with me and other men that I coach in situations that, you feel this connection with someone instantly, especially when you're meeting someone new and you feel it, and there's a lot of excitement. And then time progresses, whether it's a few weeks, a few months, and there's a deepening sense of intimacy because you're spending more time with them. And what you might have sensed as, am I intuitively, is this the right person for me? Your answer might still be yes. But the piece that happens is then as you're getting to know them, this is a piece I share with people, don't fall in love with potential. Fall in love with realness. So what I mean by this is you have this connection, you feel like, oh, maybe this person is the one for me. And they might be, and they very well maybe, but allow time to play out, have experiences and find out, like people talk, oh, my soul flame, or, all of these kind of talk, it's great. I love those kind of speaking elements as well. And yet I'm also very grounded and highly suggest, because I myself got caught up in this, and numerous relationships where I felt a strong connection with this woman. And then as time progressed, I found there were certain elements of communication and intimacy where we were not on the same track. And so therefore eventually became, oh, we're not a match anymore from what you want or what I want, or what we're willing to do. So that's my answer to you, Anne, that yes, intuitively, yes, you can feel this is the person. And then I'd say, fine, now let's make it real. Fill in the painting. Give yourself the chance to fill in the painting and get excited, but don't get too overly blown out and hold on to like, this got to be the person, as well as the other side. If a few months down the road, you realize, oh, what I thought was the right person. And it turns out because of, as we got deeper into our emotional intimacy, and I found that they were either not willing to grow with me or be intimate with me or be willing to transform, then I recognize, oh, I don't care. I don't want that kind of relationship. It's not going to be what's sustaining for me. So that's what I'm getting at. It's tricky. Like, it's real. I agree with you. And it's an and here. Play it out. Let's see if it continues to happen. And that's what's most important. What's showing up days, weeks, months later? Is that same love happening? Are you both able to maintain that joyous, juicy magic of when you first met? And also, let's say a challenge does happen. Are you able to clear that quickly and reconnect with that connection? Because oftentimes when a couple goes through a challenge and is finally shares about it, there's that make-up love, make-up love-making, like in that sense, when you have had a disagreement and have come to an understanding, and then the heart opens again. So that's my answer.
Thank you so much, Cary. And I want to run through another set of questions here. And then I want to give each of you, our wonderful male panelists, a chance to leave the ladies tonight with a last bit of wisdom, encouragement, inspiration, whatever you feel like you'd like to leave them with. But we'll go through another set of questions first. Just wanted to give you the heads up on that, guys. Okay, so the Annie asks, Ken, this is for you. What do you recommend doing when a man goes on and on about his ex during a date?
You mean during the date, like what do you say to him?
Yeah, she's saying, what do you recommend doing when a man goes on and on about his ex during a date?
Whatever feels right. If it's annoying, say, I'd really kind of like to have a date with you, not you and your ex. Or, you don't get to decide for him where he is because of his comments. This is what I hear all the time. Oh, this must mean this about him. You don't know what happened right before he walked in the door. He could have just got a call from his ex and she's doing something that they hadn't agreed with. And so she's front of mind. It doesn't mean that he's obsessed about his ex. But you can invite him to be present with you. You're going to tell him, this isn't just the thing for me. Maybe you've already identified for yourself, he's not what I'm looking for. You can use that as a leverage point, but I would encourage you to just be honest with him. Just tell him. Remember, guys prefer direct. Women prefer obtuse. You like the kind of circle around, a lot of frills around the edges. Guys are like, just tell me what's going on. Will it sting? Yes, it'll sting. But we'd rather have it direct and be done with it and go, got it. And have kind of this vague sort of maybe that's kind of like this, but I'm not really going to tell you the truth because I'm afraid I'll hurt your feelings. It's great that you're conscious of their feelings. But again, what do you want him to do? You're on a date, he's jabbering on about his ex. It's not, I want you to stop talking about your ex, because he can start talking about work. What do you want? You want him to be present with you. So you could just let him know, hey, I'd like to be on a date with you, not you and your ex. If that's not going to work for you right now, let's find another time. You're showing you respect yourself. It's a form of self-confidence. Do it, and you will love the results.
Thank you so much, Ken. I think this comes back to some themes we've had here, which is really being willing to know what you want, ask for what you want, own what you want. And I think this applies to having a relationship in general. I think there's something powerful about speaking, owning, saying what it is that you desire in terms of a relationship. If you really want to get married, if you really want to have that committed partnership, marriage relationship, be willing to own that and say that. And that doesn't mean you necessarily burst out with that right when you meet someone, but being clear about what you want and how you feel, and being able to speak those words kindly and respectfully, but directly, can be so powerful in so many areas. So I'm so glad we got to emphasize that tonight. Okay, Dave, this is from Katerina in New York. Is it too masculine to message men online if I like their profiles and I find them interesting? Or men don't mind when women message them first? I think you get the gist of that question.
I sure do. That's a great one, too. I actually wrote a book on writing great dating profiles. It's called The Catch Your Match Formula, and I talk about a lot of that stuff in there. The one thing I'll say, ask him a question, I think is a great way to do it. So you don't want to be, there's two energies. There's the hunter and there's the gatherer. If you're the hunter, you're the pursuer. If you ask a question, you can actually sort of green light, because now he is giving something back. So you're just asking a question because you're curious. And especially if you read his profile and say, oh, I really liked what you said about that. Tell me more about that. Or, oh, I love that place too. Or I love doing that. Tell me more about that. Or when was the last time you were there? Or something like that. Now you've sort of opened up a conversation, and if it's something that he felt strongly enough to put it in his dating profile, well, now you already have something in common. So he's already predisposed to say, oh, who's this? Let me take a look at her. Oh, we have that in common. And then he might start to put those pieces together. So it's a great way to get on his radar, just in case you're not. And then you can sort of build it by conditioning what you want, by asking great questions and opening. It's always about open-ended questions, never closed questions. A closed question would be something you could say yes or no, and that's perfectly acceptable answer. A better question is like, oh, tell me what you love about that. The answer is not yes or no. Now he has to say, oh, well, the reason I love it is because that's where I grew up and it's a really special place to me. So now he's got a lot more words, and you're learning about him, you're engaging and you're connecting, and he's actually finding out all these things that you have in common. So yeah, by all means, you can ask a question, but I would stop before I get into the pursuing someone. I would lobby a quick question over the fence, and then let him pursue, or let him respond and continue the question. So excellent question. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Dave, and really appreciate that. Cary, I want to ask you this question that was submitted beforehand from Miranda, because I think you can really speak to this. She says, how do you know when you're ready to date? What do I need to do beforehand before I open my door? And then she puts in parentheses, my heart, to a relationship. And I think this is a really relevant question, because I know so many of the women here maybe have come from a divorce or a loss of a spouse, or have been hurt or disappointed. And it's like, there is this question about, when are you really ready? When do you feel ready to open your heart, and how do you know you're ready?
Yeah, it is a great question. Thanks, Miranda, for writing in. And Michelle, yeah, you're talking about points of ending a relationship or divorce or being widowed or things. Those are big moments in our lives. And it could be certainly from just also someone who's ended a relationship, and how much time do I need to kind of quote unquote recover? There is no real dateline on that. I don't feel it's individual, but there are, I think, a few factors here. One, it's honor your own self. Reflect on the time you feel you're ready and needing to look at the relationship. What did you learn from it? What do you feel you need to learn from it? Based on those things, are there certain areas, like it brought up intimacy issues or patterns from childhood that like, whoa, it's just like, opened up a big Pandora's box that you never explored. I'm saying, like, giving an example of a huge area, then you might need some coaching or counseling prior to entering a new relationship. if it's something like, okay, it's just a place of things happened, things ended, or someone, a partner died, in your life, that's a grief thing that from my experience and talking with many other folks who have been widowed, it just takes time. There's a natural timing that you just have to go through, and it takes years in many cases. I know in my life, even though I entered into other relationships, because the love I had with my relationship with Wendy, and it ended not because we were unhappy or divorced, she died of this brain tumor. My heart still feels this love, and in some ways will always feel this love. And it's a beautiful thing. So it's breathing into that piece, and then, again, I would say exploring and have fun exploring. How do you know when you're ready? Jump in. And what do I mean by that? You don't if you feel like that urge, I want to start dating again, but I'm not sure if I'm 100% or things like that. Just start talking to people, men or women, and start new friendships, whether men and male or female. I would also say start talking, if you're a female, start talking to men, and they don't have to be ones that you're attracted to, or the one or the kind of the person, but it can be someone you just meet when you're hanging out at a club or a party, or at at a coffee shop, for that matter. That you just you see someone, just say hello, and then start a conversation. Feel that freedom to jump back in and have fun. And there may not be that you may feel an attraction, but not be the kind of attraction that, I want to enter into a relationship with them. But you got the wheels rolling again, and feel that excitement, feel that joy, and that's kind of like priming the pump for that. It's allowing you to re-enter that energy, and you're going to start then attracting those quality of men on the kind of relationship that you really want. Again, trust your knowingness, trust your intuition. If there are issues there, work on them, but you don't have to wait also till they're fully gone and you've fully cleared them too. But I would say make sure that the bulk of the issues of how you're being triggered is cleared, and have a lot of fun with it. Again, it's an adventure.
Thank you so much, Cary. I really love that you reemphasize the fact that the journey, there's supposed to be joy on the journey, because I think one thing that happens is that there can be a heaviness sometimes that comes into play for women around love, dating, and relationships. And I know it doesn't always feel this way, but it's supposed to be fun. And yes, it's supposed to be an adventure. And yes, it's a big decision about who you end up with ultimately. That's a big life decision. But having some lightness and some joy and some fun along the way as we're exploring new opportunities, even if they're just to give us great humorous stories to tell after the fact, can make the journey a lot more fun. But I want to let you three wonderful men leave us with a last word, a last thought, whatever you'd like before we wrap up. Ken, should we start with you?
Okay, sure. So one, I just want to thank you all for being here and taking the time to learn and to expand and to grow and to ask questions. And I'm sorry we couldn't get to all of them, but there's like 300 people on this call, so it would have been pretty impossible. The biggest thing I want to invite you to do is, one, really pay attention to your feelings. Many of these questions could be answered if you're paying attention to your feelings when you're with whoever you're with, because your feelings are unarguable and they're not necessarily going to make sense. Now, we ask questions because we're trying to make sense of it all. But if you're with someone and they check every box, but you just don't feel right with them, pay attention to the feeling more than the boxes that were checked. And vice versa. If you have all these boxes and you're like, well, he doesn't really check all the boxes, but I have so much fun with him. He's like, I'm so comfortable with this guy. Hello, pay attention to the feelings. Your feelings are actually how the divine communicates with you. God doesn't speak in words. God doesn't speak in ideas. God doesn't speak in equations. God speaks in feelings. So when you check in with your heart instead of your head, you'll hear God's guidance. This is the divine going, this guy's fun. And your brain's going, yes, but he doesn't check these boxes. Pay attention to your heart. It's going to guide you, and it's flawless.
Thank you so much, Ken. That was beautifully said.
Thank you.
Okay, Dave.
Okay, so I just want to remind you, if you're on this call tonight, here's the good news. You are already several steps ahead of your sisters who did not make the time to be here, because you're engaging, you're asking good questions, you're focusing, and you're doing some work to heal this and just show up as the amazing, confident, incredible women that you are. So I salute you for being here. And then I think the other thing I would say is, if there was a theme tonight, I would say the one theme is a lot of asking the wrong question of what you want. So I would say, take this away. 3 C's. Number 1 C is clarity. Be clear on what you want. Don't ask what you don't want. Ask the question of what you do want. So if I want a man to do this, that, or the other thing, ask that question. How do I get that? Ask a better question. And then why won't he do that? Don't, too much focusing on what you don't want will never get you what you do want. So clarity is key. Second, when you ask that clarity and you show up and you put it out there, that is confident. That's the 2nd C right there. Clarity, confidence. It's so attractive. Men and women are interested in very different things. The one thing we do agree on, confidence is really attractive, really hot. And the 3rd thing is character. Again, because you're here, you're learning a better way. And that's what I would really highly suggest that you look for in a great man. As mentioned, there are all kinds of things you might be looking to tick off on your boxes. My big suggestion is look for a man of character, and I don't think you'll ever be disappointed. So those 3 C's, clarity, confidence, character. Thank you very much for being here tonight, ladies. I salute you, and it was always a pleasure. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dave. Really appreciate your words of wisdom there and the 3 C's there. Okay, Cary, you're up, my friend.
Thank you so much, Michelle. First, I want to honor and thank you for having me be part of this, as well as Dave and Ken too. I so much enjoy both of your wisdoms and the way you express yourselves. And it's fantastic how I feel we complement each other, even though we're on different spokes of the wheels in many ways. And that's a beautiful thing. So thank you, gentlemen. It's always a joy to play with you. Also, ladies, I agree with you with Dave was sharing about, honoring all the women who are here and, striving for what they're wanting. And with that, I would say life is precious. Life is really precious, and you're never going to have another moment like now. It's never going to come back. It's only right now. And how I really learned that is, unfortunately, through a lot of death in my life. I didn't have this kind of awareness prior, but that, many people in my life that I love died so far, but I've also been able to and take that and enjoy and I've been able to, and share this more with people, to say what you got to say what's on your mind. Like John Mayer says, it's better to say too much than say nothing at all. Share with your family, your friends, and in this case, your new loving partners. Be willing to go on that edge and be vulnerable and share your heart. This, like Ken was sharing, I feel too, as the more we are willing to be vulnerable, and even like, I have to tell you this, and you can be cracking in your voice and even say, I'm scared. That makes you more human. That makes you more desirable to a partner and open. And I feel too, the divine recognizes that the more we're willing to be candid, and share about the challenges we have, or our heart is opening, and just say, I know this may be really soon, but I feel I'm falling in love with you or rising in love with you. It's beautiful. And that person doesn't have to feel the exact same thing at that moment, or may never, but you're expressing your your humanness. Take advantage of the moment because that's what you got, but that's the piece. By doing that, it leads the pathway to going forward. So by being like passive, it's too early, I can't tell you this. I'm telling you from my experience, I've pushed myself to do this. I've been willing to dare, and it's rewards after rewards after rewards. And what's the reward? My heart. I feel more in love with life. I feel more connected in being. I did it. I told her how much I really cared. And then she gets an opportunity to respond. And most of the times it's been so beautiful. It often has opened the doorway to deeper communications and deeper levels of the relationship. So I say, life is precious. Do dare. Put your heart out there. And the level of your willingness to do that is equal to the levelness of what you're going to get back. No one said life is a journey where you're not going to have any challenges or be hurt, but off the same level, the level of which you're willing to love is you will grow in that love and blossom. And you will feel your heart open and feel your connection with the divine and feel that the juicy connection with that person that you're wanting to be with. So go for it, ladies. Thank you for being here. And thank you, Michelle, for mahalo nui loa for having me.
Thank you so much, Cary. And I'm so glad you spoke about that. It really touched my heart. And I do believe that life is very precious. And love is the very best part of life. So it is worth risking everything for. It really is. It's worth it. I mean, at the end of our lives, we're not going to look back and say, boy, I wish I spent more time at the office. But we might look back and say, I wish I could have found that love of my life, or I wish I could have expressed that love more. Love is really what life is all about. And that's why those of us that are here on this panel do what we do and are so blessed in the world to have the opportunity to hopefully help and support people on that path in whatever way works for them. And I'm honored to have you here tonight, each and every one of you. I love these men, and they are so generous with their time and with their wisdom. And I really want to thank each of you, Ken, Cary, and Dave, for your wisdom and your generosity. And with that, we'll send our love and blessings to each of you. And good night and goodbye for now.